Good morning and welcome to Giverty's webinar on how you can use your event data to help you raise more. If you're already using data from your event, hopefully we can give you even more insight in how to enhance your strategy. And for those who aren't using data, well, hopefully this webinar will be a real eye-opener for you. My name's Lizzie and I'm the Senior Business Development Manager here at Giverty and I look after new clients. I'm joined today by my colleague Mia.
Hi there, I'm a Senior Fundraising Manager at Giverty and have been for the past year and a bit. I've been the main point of contact for a vast number of our clients, offering support and advice along the way.
So we're live on Twitter today. Please jump on our channel and hit us up with any questions or anything you want to share on the webinar. Our handle's at Giverty UK, so do pop anything on there. There's also some great content on some blogs and bits and pieces, so do have a look around. Hopefully there'll be something on there for you. So I'm sure most of you know who we are and what we do. For those who have not come across Giverty before, we operate globally with offices in the UK. Me and Mia are in Richmond this morning, but we've also got offices in the US, Canada, Hong Kong and Australia. And what Giverty do, we offer a range of fundraising platforms which can be utilised both at events and online. So just to give you a bit of a summary about what we're going to cover today, Mia's going to talk you through why does event data hold so much power, and she's also going to talk you through how to discover trends in your data and what to do with them. I'm going to take you through how to use your data to learn more about your donors' bidding patterns. Mia's going to talk you through how to use data to retain donors and understand how your donors want to give. And finally, I'm going to take you through how to actually capture your data effectively. So over to Mia.
Great. So why does event data hold so much power? Event data is powerful because it can provide you with more insight into how your event actually went and help you pinpoint what parts of your event went well and had a positive impact on fundraising and what parts you could improve for next time to raise you more revenue. Looking at past data can be especially valuable if you plan and deliver the same event each year so that you can consistently raise more than the year previously. Or if it's your first time planning and delivering an event, but it has happened in the past, looking at event data can be a great place to start. But before you look at past event data, you need to have an efficient way to capture the data and effectively analyze it. So throughout this webinar, we're going to show you some ways in which you can do this. So before we delve any further, let's just have a quick poll. How many of you currently use post-event data to help you plan your next event? We'll just take a few minutes for the results to come in. It'll be really interesting to see what you guys are doing.
Bro, starting to come in there?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
A few more seconds so that it...
It's quite interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so it seems that 80% of you do use post-event data to help you plan your next event, which is great to hear. So this webinar will be useful as it might still reveal some different types of data to capture from your events that you may not have considered analysing before. And so hopefully you'll still go away with some useful tips and tricks. Okay, so how to discover trends and what to do with them. This is an example of how we've used our technology platform to capture all the bids that were placed in the auction at the event. We've then displayed this as a graph so that we can easily identify the peaks and troughs, where bidding was highest and where bidding was not so high. When you also use your event program alongside this, it's easy to see then what elements in your event help to increase the amount of bids that were placed. So we can see that bidding increased when the MC mentions the auction and gives it a little push, and also when an emotive speaker or video was shown, which was probably followed by a big ask or pledge moment. So from this, we can settle that it's important we keep these elements in the program for next time. But maybe consider also including them at other pivotal moments throughout the evening to help increase bidding, especially at the times when we see there was a dip. So a good MC can really re-energize the crowd. So at your next event, we should plan the times that they'll come up on stage and exactly what they'll say, such as mentioning particular auction items that need a bit of a push, or to host the big ask pledge moment. Having an experienced auctioneer auction off a few of your higher priced items can also be a great way to create buzz in the room and drive up bidding activity. So perhaps plan this in to happen during when we saw the dips on either side of the dinner. When the entertainment began, it's clear from this data that the guests' focus on the auction and fundraising started to diminish because they were probably watching the entertainment or started to get up from their tables and go dance or talk to their friends. So again, it's definitely important here to announce to guests that the silent auction and ability to pledge is about to close and that they only have a number of minutes to place their final bids before the winners are announced. This might see another peak in bids just before the entertainment starts. So we know announcements work, but during the drinks reception at the start of the event, this can be difficult to do without making your guests feel pestered. So I would suggest promoting your auction items days or weeks before so that guests come prepared. Many bids may also not have been placed during this time because we know that most of the guests are roaming and have a drink in hand. So finding a way where guests can bid on their smartphones and are encouraged to do so could increase the bidding and pledging activity here at the start of your event.
So, how do you use your data to learn more about your donors' bidding or their donating patterns? As Mia just discussed, at your event, you're capturing bids and pledges throughout, which really allows you to see patterns and peaks and troughs in the data. But you can also use this data to draw conclusions about who your guests actually are. And understanding who your guests are is quite powerful in predicting their behaviour for future events. I imagine before your event, you had actually made some assumptions about the type of guests that you'd invited and that was attending. But post-event, what you can do is you can create, if you've not already done so, personas and match those personas you've built with your donors from the data collated on the auction technology platform. What you'll be able to do with that is you'll be able to cross-reference useful information like age with bidding activity. Is there a particular sort of item that stimulates a particular demographic to bid more? Is there sort of a gender in the room that might be bidding more? Is it more male or female dominated? So again, you might want to tailor the prizes to the sort of maybe the gender that's actually in the room that actually bid. The other thing you can look at is there a particular pattern with a table? So is there an association with a table? Is there a high-end bidder or donor for the charity that's sat on that table? Or is there a particular company that it's affiliated with that have been bidding more? The other thing you could probably look at is has that guest actually opted in to receiving information about the charity? And is there any correlation with their bidding and donating patterns with, sort of making an assumption about how engaged they are with the cause of the charity? So with all these things, really the sky's the limit with reviewing your data, and it's really there for you to drill down in any way you feel that would be useful into planning your future events. Additionally, in using a tech system at your event, it will also enable you to see sort of effectively patterns and trends. Here's an example of Givergy's back end of the system, and this is a summary page that our system automatically creates after your event. So as you can see, you've got sort of breakdowns on top 10 popular items, top 10 unpopular items. So what that would be allow you to do is quickly make some assumptions about what type of item to include at your next event with these sets of guests. So it could be the popular items are maybe, experiences or holidays, and unpopular items might be, signed memorabilia. So you just need to, again, all your guests are going to be different and have different patterns. So again, reviewing this data is really important. The other thing these summary pages will show is perhaps the bidding method and how your guests are actually bidding. Are they using mobile phones predominantly, or are they using the tablets predominantly? And this will allow you to tailor your event next time to their preferred bidding method. So do you need more tablets in the room, or can you rely on them using their mobile phones more? And also, obviously, the big thing is you can see the top 10 contributors. So with our system, it adds up. You can have it set so it looks at pledging and bidding. So again, you can really see quickly who your top 10 contributors are. So hopefully by this point, after reviewing all the data, you'll have a clear understanding of the when, the who, and the why. This will allow you to cater for those top contributors moving forward, and perhaps at your next event, increase engagement with those guests that might not have got as involved. And again, you'll be able to see that through the system as well. So over to Mia.
Perfect. So how can you use data to help you retain your donors? And by donors, we are referring to your guests who contributed to the fundraising at your event and the people who donated an auction item. So to retain your guests, use your event data to pinpoint who were the top contributors so that you can then send them bespoke thank you letters that detail their effort. This is a great way to make them feel appreciated. Also consider sending a survey to your top contributors or table hosts so that you can capture what fundraising elements they enjoyed or what they perhaps found confusing, not engaging, and what they would like to see for next time. This can be really insightful and helpful, not only for you, but it can also make your guests feel valued as they become part of the planning process and therefore more likely to return again. Letting the item donors know how successful their items were in the auction can also help them want to donate again for your next event. So if you can capture how many bids were placed per auction item and what price they sold for, this can be great to share with the donors. And of course, having a seamless and accessible payment process and item retrieval is paramount so that guests return to the event and are keen to bid to win the items in the future. So consider how your registration check-in process at the start of your event can assist you in capturing key information from the guests that you will then need at a later stage to collect payments at the end of the event. Consider what tools you'll use to collect payment and get the auction items to the guests quickly. If it's seamless and easy to use, it should be hassle-free for both guests and yourselves. It's also useful to capture how guests paid and when guests paid. This will help you determine whether you have a payment process that suits your guests or what you should look at changing so that you're meeting their needs and improving efficiency at your next event. This table from our platform has captured information on how guests have paid for their items. So we can see that most funds were collected by Givergy, which means via our online payment portal, where guests could pay for their items from their smartphones using their card. The funds the client collected from guests were paid via BACS or check. So looking at this data, it seems most guests prefer to pay via credit card on their smartphone. So making sure you provide the ability to pay online for your guests at your next event will suit their needs, make it fast and efficient for you, and have them returning again.
Capturing and reviewing data is fundamental in increasing engagement, increasing efficiency, and offering deeper insight into the behaviour of your guests or users. But how do you actually do it effectively? So firstly, in our experience, we found that clients using the Givergy platform get the most out of it when they use it to the fullest potential. So from the beginning, from pre-registration to ticketing, and then using the bidding and pledging functions, but also payments at the event. So whatever system you're using, we would recommend you do try and utilise all the elements that are available. This then leads to all the data actually being entered into one place, so the system can then act as a hub and a database for your event. This will have quite a few benefits, which will include increasing efficiency, as you won't have multiple spreadsheets everywhere, bits of paper floating around on the event, and everyone that's working on the event will be able to access the same information all the time. And you can also create and pull reports which contain all the data from the event to give you a full picture, including, sort of looking at your core and supplementary revenue streams. As shown previously, Givergy's system turns all your data into sort of digestible graphs, charts, and tables. Again, this is very effective in looking at your data and making some quick assumptions about it. So again, really increases your efficiency with the knowledge of your event. Also, using sort of a tech platform does make your life a lot easier when it comes to complying with GDPR. We know how much fun that's been over the last 18 months of getting us all up to date, so we're all fully compliant. But it is really important about sort of using your guest data and making sure that you are within sort of legal requirements. With Givergy system, we've taken lots of steps, and we know that the system and all the processes that we have in place are fully GDPR compliant, so you can sort of have confidence in using the data of your guests. But we would advise whatever system you're going to use, whichever provider, make sure you check to ensure that a process in the system is GDPR compliant before contacting your guests. but it is obviously a very useful part of the system. And finally, post-event surveys. These do work really well, and as sort of in terms of collecting feedback from your guests, and a really good mechanism which we feel are sort of invaluable about collating the feedback from your guests. A couple of good examples are SurveyMonkey and Get Feedback, and you can send these out and tailor them to your guests to get a really good understanding about their feedback. These tools will turn your data into sort of digestible graphs, charts, and infographics, and then you can really sort of use them to sort of sell your event and showcase how well it did to your board and committee. And it will obviously give you another section of data overview to help you plan your next event, so you can improve the performance and guest experience for next time.
Great. So that was a bit of an overview of how data can be utilised for your event planning. But if you have any specific questions you'd like to ask us, please do now. There is a chat function on the side of your screen where you can write your questions in. So we're really looking forward to seeing how we can help. We'll just give it a few seconds to allow the first questions to come in.
Yeah. Okay. There's one here that I think probably might be best for me to answer. It's, can Givergy provide the data points you discussed we should capture? So absolutely. You've seen a couple of screenshots of the Givergy system and what data we can collect. But I would say in terms of a process, and I look after new clients, and we will always sort of go through exactly what your wants and needs are for an event. So if there's particular things you need to capture or want to capture, we can talk that through and sort of design sort of the service so that we are looking at those particular data points. As I said, we will always discuss and work out the best course for an event and what data we're going to capture. Okay, there's another one here. Again, I've used Givergy in the past. Can you dig this data out for me? So with this, we have changed our processes a little bit with the update with GDPR. Our system does store personal details of guests, but what we have put in place is that every 3 years, the system will automatically delete the guest data. What that does mean for you is that if you're holding an annual, biannual event, what you can do is come back to us and all your data will be easily accessible through a username and password. So you can drill down into your past events and really get a feel for how it actually went if you haven't managed to sort of keep all the event performance details on file. What this will show is top items from the last event. So, you can maybe replicate them or find something similar. You can maybe look at unpopular items, maybe make sure you don't include those this time. You can look at the top contributors from that event and make the decision to invite them back again, or was there a particular company that really got involved and got bought a table and brought really good clients along that got involved in the bidding? So all these things obviously will be stored on the system as data points and really be really useful for you to plan your next event.
Perfect. We've got another one here. What do you suggest we do when bidding activity is low at my event? So I've talked a little bit about this earlier, with your MC, having a really experienced MC and an experienced auctioneer, that sort of thing. But if bidding is slow, especially when guests arrive, I would suggest maybe to start it off, to host a small competition with an incentive for bidding. So, our system can definitely assist with this. So when guests arrive, maybe encourage them to say the first few people that register and place bids will be in the running to get a bottle of wine brought to their table when they go sit down for the dinner part. So our back end allows our tech manager on site to kind of see how many bids have been placed so far, who they were and what table they were sitting at. Another technique that works really well is strategically placing bidding stations next to the bar where people are going to be waiting for a drink. So not necessarily chatting to anyone, looking for something to do. Bidding stations there, they can place a bid. On the way to the loo is another one. It's right there, and also next to the auction items. So if they see an item that they really want to bid on, the bidding station's there ready to go so that they can place their bid. If you feel your guests would take well to it, You can also use technology such as ours to send text messages throughout the event. So you can send them to guests that haven't placed a bid yet, giving them a little nudge and reminder to place a bid. And you could also send it out to all guests and just to suggest certain auction items that haven't had any bids on them yet, just to remind those guests that they are there on the list, maybe sitting somewhere down the bottom. And what I've seen work really well at events, particularly for pledging moments, is when the event has included, things that pull on the heartstrings of the guests. So I've kind of talked about, how the success in including a motive video or speaker, but having a speaker that has actually experienced it firsthand can be really effective just before your big ask. I've seen it, where it's really been really immersive. So the speakers are actually amongst the crowd, sitting on tables as guests, and then the light and the microphone's handed to them. They stand up and they speak to the crowd. So the crowd weren't really, expecting it, and it's really close to home to them physically. Also, having a live feed for your emotive video can be really effective as well. So having someone on the front line experiencing it, speaking live to the crowd just before the big ask can be really effective as well to raise that donations.
Amazing. Well, I think that looks about it in terms of questions. Thanks for attending today. We really appreciate it, and I hope you found it useful. If you have another sort of review of the video when you receive it, if you've got any other questions, please to email us or get on our Twitter page and send us any questions you might have, or anything, or if you come across anything you might want to share with you might find that everyone else might find useful as well. Do get involved, and we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. Thanks all.